This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Thursday, July 8th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we're talking about an update in COVID-19 in Central Florida, as well as eviction proceedings here in the state of Florida, and we go through a walk in the park. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have social affairs reporter Kate Santich, race and inequalities reporter Desiree Sennett, and Patrick Connolly, our Things to Do reporter. Thank you all so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Kate, kicking things off here, as we mentioned before, a update in COVID-19 as we're taking a look at a resurgence in COVID-19 in Florida and Central Florida. Kate, just jumping right into it, what kind of resurgence are we looking at here?
Last week, we saw a 63% increase across Central Florida. So that's for the greater Orlando metropolitan area from Kissimmee to Sanford, had a 63% increase in cases over the previous week. And that week was also an increase over the week before that. So a sustained 2-week increase. All of our local counties are now over that 5% positivity rate. That's sort of a benchmark for health officials. You know, they want to try to stay below that. And that's for people who get tested for COVID, how many of them turn out to be positive. We've seen some uptick in emergency room visits due to COVID, a real slight increase in hospitalizations. So all of this is worrying as this more contagious Delta variant has been spreading.
That's a huge jump, 63%, Kate. As far as who is getting sick, do we know what groups are being affected by this, or is this just spread out across the board?
We know that in Orange County, it is predominantly the younger age group, 15 to 34. Of course, vaccinations are not yet authorized in anyone 12 and under, and we have seen an uptick in that group as well. But 15 to 34, you can get a vaccine. So people, the health officials are saying, please, please, please get vaccinated. Dr. Raul Pino from Orange County, the Florida Department of Health in Orange County, is actually, pleading with people to get vaccinated. He was saying that his 85-year-old mother is in Cuba and cannot get a vaccine. These vaccines are not so easily available in the rest of the world. And here we have more than people want. And so it's frustrating to him to see people turn down a vaccine when they could be protected. And we've seen, people die who've been unvaccinated. We've also seen one death in Orange County that we know of in someone who was fully vaccinated. And some people might look at that and say, well, see, the vaccines don't work. I don't want it. But the truth is that they're not as efficacious in people who are elderly as this person was. They may not have as robust a response to a vaccine as somebody younger, or this person may have had other conditions that make them especially vulnerable. The vaccines are not 100%, but they're about 95%. And that's the other thing, is that of people who are hospitalized with COVID, 95% of them are unvaccinated.
We're going to have to keep things moving here, but there's a lot more details to this report. And if you're all trying to keep up with it, please take a look at Kate's work, available right now at orlandosentinel.com. Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Desiree, I want to come over to you now to talk about one of our latest headlines. Will moratoriums end mean a Florida eviction tsunami? Now, of course, we're talking about the CDC eviction moratorium that was instilled last year and was elongated by the Biden administration earlier this year. But we are seeing the end of that moratorium in just a few weeks. So, Desiree, what is the outlook on that right now?
Well, like you said, the eviction moratorium is set to end at the end of this month on July 31st. And as far as the outlook, well, I think it depends on who you ask. I think that from what we were able to report, our officials, the people who run the city and county programs, who were given the millions of dollars to help to help renters in need catch up on back rent to avoid eviction. From their viewpoint, we're in an okay position. For them, they say that we have plenty of funding for rental assistance programs, and that for anyone who needs help and is behind on rent, the programs vary based on where you live, but generally speaking, your city or county will be willing to pay up to 12 months of back rent. And in some places, like Seminole County, for example, they're even willing to pay 3 months rent forward to help you get your finances back in order and get caught up. So for officials, they say that even if there is a wave that comes after July 31st, if landlords who are sort of out of patience for tenants who are behind decide to file evictions in mass, city and county officials say that they have the resources to manage that. However, on the other side of that coin, when we talk about advocates, groups like the Homeless Coalition, groups like Florida Rising that help with housing related issues, they are worried. They say that although cities and counties have plenty of money and also have plenty of time to spend that money, for the most part, they have until September of 2022 to spend the money. They're looking at July 31st as a much harder deadline and saying that if we don't get help to the people who need it in the next few weeks, we could see a massive wave of homelessness that, frankly, our cities and counties are not equipped to handle. And that could mean that our homeless shelters could fill up very quickly and we could see families living on the street.
Wow. Desiree, as far as that July 31st date goes, what is the chance or the possibility even of an extension on that date?
So the end of the moratorium has come around several times already since the moratorium was first put into place in 2020. And every time it had been extended. However, this time around, the tune is a little different. For example, normally in the past, when it was extended by several months at a time. This time, it was supposed to expire at the end of June, and it was extended only by 1 month. And when that happened, the CDC did say that this would be the final extension, that it would not be extended again. We do have lawmakers, for example, Representative Anna Eskamani, who is pushing Biden to extend it again, and others from national groups like the National Low Income Housing Coalition. They are trying to convince the Biden administration to extend it as well. But so far, it looks like that is not going to happen. That this truly is the end of the moratorium.
A lot on that story, everyone. A lot more than what we've talked about here, and certainly more to come. If you're all trying to keep up with it, take a look at Desiree's work at orlandosentinel.com, and it's certainly a story that we'll be continuing to follow as we approach that July 31st deadline. Desiree, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I want to transition now over to Patrick Connolly, our Things to Do reporter, our Central Florida explorer, which means, of course, it's time for a Florida Fresh Air feature. Patrick, where are you taking us this week?
Well, this week, Joe Mario, we're heading to Green Springs Park, which is sort of in Deltona Enterprise, right on the northern shore of Lake Monroe. And it's a nice little park, and it actually has kind of a storied history. There was a shell mound nearby, and they found artifacts dating up to about 6,000 years ago, suggesting that, Native American inhabitants were there, long before, tourists showed up to check out the park. But in the last several centuries, at one point there was an inn close by. There's been riverboat tours on the St. John's. And then at the springs themselves, people used to be able to swim in these green-hued sulfur springs, which you can still see in the park. You cannot swim in them today, but people, used to seek them out for their supposed healing properties. So in its current state, it's good to go to the park. It's actually right at the intersection of two different paved bike trails or paved recreation trails, the Spring to Spring Trail and the East Central Regional Rail Trail. So you can access both of those trails from the park, or you can just take a short little hike around the park. You can see the springs. You can walk beneath this magnificent ancient hardwood hammock with live oak trees, magnolia, hickory, and cedar trees. So there's really a lot there. There's a playground. You could have a picnic there. But yeah, just check out the water features. That's really kind of the main draw there, just to gaze into this weird, green-hued pool and just think about its sort of almost ethereal glow. That's really the main attraction at this park.
It sounds really picturesque. And to have a picnic there, like you suggested, sounds like a great idea. So, for anyone who might be interested in doing that, what are some things they should know before they go?
So the park is open sunrise to sunset daily. Leash pets are allowed in the park. I will say I've been adding an accessibility note in my stories as well, and this one has a lot of paved sidewalks and paved trails, so it would be pretty accessible for a wheelchair or an electric scooter. I would definitely pack your bug spray. I thought, I'll be quick. Why bother? But then the mosquitoes ate me alive. So definitely put on bug spray. As long as you're sprayed up, there's a few nice little overlooks. You could bring a book, bring a snack, just hang out in the park for a bit, or just take a short walk. Bring your camera along to capture some of the sights. Those are some of my pro tips from having visited recently. But yeah, look out for those mosquitoes. They were everywhere.
Some really good tips there. If you're all trying to catch up with Green Springs, take a look at Patrick's work at Florida Fresh Air. They come out every Friday, so be on the lookout for it. Patrick, thank you so much. All right, before we all leave you today, we do want to talk to you about Thursday's weather presented by Premier Sotheby's International Realty. Central Florida is up for some quieter weather Thursday after a tumultuous Wednesday thanks to Tropical Storm Elsa. Although the storm is behind Florida, trails of moisture from the southern peninsula and the Gulf of Mexico linger, creating opportunities for showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. The National Weather Service gave a 40% chance to a 60% chance of thunderstorms and some light rain throughout Thursday. Friday looks to have some strong chances of thunderstorms as well, with odds at 70%. Thursday's temperature high is forecast for 90 degrees and a low of 75. Friday has a high of 87 and a low of 76. As for the weekend, you can find out more online at orlandosentinel.com, where, of course, you can find information on all the other stories that we talked about here today as well. And for those of you who are subscribers to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for continuing to support local journalism and supporting what we do. If you want to become a subscriber, it's easy to do so. All you need to do is visit orlandosentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that is our show here for today. A big thank you to Kate, Desiree, and Patrick for keeping us filled in what's going on in our community. We'll be back again with more news tomorrow at noon. We'll see you then. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on orlandosentinel.com.